All right, blessings. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a week, a long week for me, anyways. I'm not sure about the rest of you guys, but it's been a long week for me, and that's just comes with the territory of working in this world, and that's being on call. This is episode 7 of our Jasher series. We're picking this back up where we left off last week, where we made it from Adam getting kicked out of the garden all the way up into the flood. What we were discussing was there was a point within all of that discussion that I wanted to make clear, is that all of those people were judged in whether it was spiritual or physical or whatever, or a combination of both. They were judged already, and that was made clear. Whether they have yet to see a final judgment or whatever, I don't think that's relevant anymore for them. But the thing that's been on my mind about all of this is what this book leads to. And it's a scary topic, really. And before we go any further into that, I want to give thanks to all of our members of this channel now. I see we have quite a few, actually. I didn't actually, let's see if I can move this over here. So I didn't make an actual page to share with you guys. Like I'm gonna make this neater, and more presentable for you guys. But this is just a list of all of our current members, and I just wanted to say that you guys are exceptional and are amazing people. It's awesome that y'all are here. Move that out of here. That's not what y'all need to be worried about. That's neither here nor there. But what it is I wanted to give a big shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing. This community is superb. I mean, there can't, if anybody was looking for a cult to join, the Little Season Cult of Khan cult would be the cult to join. You guys are really a true blessing. Y'all are truly amazing. I don't think I could say that enough, and I don't think anybody else could say that enough. I see Miss Joyful One is here, Miss Trish is here, we have Miss Wendy here as well, and Brother Culticon, Adrian, and of course, let's see, Art and Shirley is here as well, and Doctor Who. Nice to see you guys. I hope you guys have had a pretty good week, and I hope your weekend was pretty good. I know it was kind of weird today. I woke up and it was kind of cool, which was odd because it's been warm. And when you're bald, the temperature matters because it determines how you dress, so to speak. And so my head gets cold, that's why I wear a hat. I don't like to not have air moving, so I appreciate all of you guys being here and hanging out with me. And welcome back for another adventure into Truth Unfiltered, as we unravel the mysteries that led a lot of us to the understanding of Revelation and the little season that we're in. Have you guys seen Jason Jacks and lately, and JT's channel and Paul's channel and Brother Connor? These guys are killing it out there when it comes to talking about the little season and spreading the word. Just last Friday, I had a wonderful blessing. I was allowed to be on the Sealant Fan Man's channel. Of course, I apologize to him before and after that sometimes I get winded, and it's just the way it is. So, but I had a good time. It was a really fun show, a Sealant Fan Man show. It was really fun talking with him. Of course, when it comes to the little season in the Bible, I could probably talk all day. That's just the way that goes. But that's why we do what we do. You know, we want to talk and share what we discovered and what we learned when it comes to this. It comes to the Bible, it comes to the Scripture. A lot of people are afraid of it because they don't have a firm, true, and accurate understanding about it. They look at it and speculate on what it could mean and might mean. And I'm down with that because I've been there, done that. And I do it now sometimes, I'm sure. But the thing I try to do more than anything when I'm reading this thing is I'm trying to see it through the lens that I'm supposed to be seeing it through. What we did learn over in chapter 6 of Jasher was how all of these events unfolded and led to the culmination of their demise, the ultimate end to all living life on earth. And that was this flood, this great, enormous flood that tore open through the sky, came up through the earth. This flood is what killed everything, but not just that it killed them. That was their judgment. They were being judged at that time. Just the same as those people of Jesus's day when he told them that they would be judged, that this was their time to be judged, that they would be judged for all the innocent blood that was ever spilt before them. What's interesting is that the only group of people yet to have been really judged are like in a worldly physical judge, are these people right here that we're reading about in chapter 7. And these are the names of the sons of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Shem. Whew. Why did there have to be 3? Why couldn't it have just been 2? Would have made things a lot simpler. And children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. These are the sons of Japheth: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus, 7 sons. And the sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Tegomar. These are from the line of Japheth. Magog, a lot of people recognize that, same as Gomer. They even will recognize the name Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is the same in Genesis as Ashkenazi or Ashkenaz. It's the same person when you see that. This is the line of Japheth. And the sons of Magog were Elikanaph and Lubal. And the children of Madai were Achan, Zelo, Chazoni, and Lot. The reason it's telling you these names is because they have a significance somewhere along the line as we read through Scripture. They're kind of important to a degree, but also these are the bloodlines that were existing at that time all the way up until the destruction of the temple. When the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem, it held all of these records, all the lineage records for all the people at that time. I'm not certain that they only held the lineage or records for the line of just Shem. It could have been just the Israelite line. But I believe they had the original birth records like this in some form for all lines, is what I'm saying to that. And the reason I say that is because we will get to it and you'll see where I'm coming from, but maybe you don't, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think some of these people are not us. Like we're not descendants of some of these people that we're about to read about and learn about. Even though their names are here, their descendants, their time is up. It ended. It says, and the sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Chittim, and Dudonim. Chittim, again, is important only if you understand Maccabees. Truly. It will come later on. It will be mentioned along the line of Esau's line. But Chittim is who and where Alexander the Great comes from. That's the Greece or Greek people. That's Javan. And the sons of Tubal were Ariphi and Kised and Tari. And the sons of Meshech were Dedan, Zeran, and Shebashini. And the sons of Tyrus were Benib, Gera, Lupirian, and Gillik. These are the sons of Japheth according to their families. And their numbers in those days were about 460 men. Well, all this is telling you is that from the day of the flood ended, when these people started being born, up until this last person mentioned, Gillik, up until that person being born, they only had grown in number about 460 men. So not that many people have been really come from them at that point. You know, they're not doing what I think they should be doing. I think they should be trying to have babies every year, but they're not necessarily doing that. But that's what I would say to do if we were in their shoes. And the sons of Tyrus were not. Yeah, and to be clear about that, it would be to increase our numbers to make living a little bit easier for all of us. That's why I say I wouldn't do it exactly the way they did it. All I'm saying is that this is a lessons learned type of thing. And the sons of Tyrus were Benib and Gera. Oh, we read that. And these are the sons of Ham. Cush, important name, Mitzrayim, Foot, and Canaan, also another important name. 4 sons, and the sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Setachah. And the sons of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Mizraim were Lud, Anam, Pathros, Chaslav, and Chaptor. And the sons of Foot were Gabal, Hedon, Banah, and Adon. I almost feel like Wes Huff here reading that little sliver of scripture in Greek or whatever, Hebrew. That's almost how I feel right now. So I hate having to go through these names, but I don't want to skip anything. These are the sons of Ham, according to their families. Actually, I did skip that whole line. And the sons of Canaan were Zidon, Heth, Amori, Gerbashi, Hivi, Arki, Sinai, Arodi, and Zimodi, and Chamothi. Now, a lot of these names, like, so far we hadn't mentioned Nimrod yet. He hadn't been born yet. He's not here yet. But these people are, and the reason I'm pointing that out is because a lot of people will, as we read through the Bible, we've already kind of heard some things, and we learned a thing or two. And all I'm pointing out is we don't want to assume Nimrod even exists. We don't know anything about him yet. He hadn't been born yet. That's what looking at this thing through a clear lens, unfiltered lens is. If you guys will give me 2 seconds, I will pause right here, this lesson, and I'll return with something that you guys have probably been waiting to see. All right. Guess you guys could still hear me. So what we have here is a mix of what my dogs look like. Some of them have gray spots on them, but this one here, he turned out pretty dark. He's almost black and white. But this is and this is a girl. And this is a boy. This is a little boy. The other ones look like little cows. They got little spots all over them. Well, couple of spots. He's big. He's trying to move. He's trying to crawl around. Yeah. So we have 5 of these. One of them, this little black one, he already fell asleep in my lap. I just woke him up again. Actually, he wasn't awake before, but he did. He just fell asleep in my lap. This is a black one here. I think somebody I know has already claimed him. He may even be watching right now. So this is your black one. Let's see if we can get a better focus. There, that's a clearer picture. It's a little bit further away. You got me in there. But yeah, nice little bully pups. All right, let me go take them back. Mama's not happy right now. All right. Yeah, I believe she may be claims. What it looks like already. All right, so the black one is a female. The white one is a male, and there are only 2 genders when it comes to dogs. In case anybody was confused, but I did say I would show puppies, and so there we go. We've shown puppies. You guys have seen some puppies, and I try not to keep them away from her too much. She's, they're fairly new. Their eyes aren't even really open yet. Also, I apologize. I didn't shave. I didn't think about it. Just kind of lost track of what I was at in time. All right. For those of you that are new, I am the Rev. This is Truth Unfiltered. Welcome, and I'm glad to have each and every one of you here. I see Mad Pax has made it in, and so is James Stark. Trust in Yahweh. Lacey's here, and Allison M. Of course, we got Mr. James Stark as well. You guys are amazing. You got a pretty good little turnout. You know, I often wonder when I go on call for a week and I can't stream for that whole week that you guys may forget about me. But obviously, the Lord works in wonderful ways, and you guys are here and haven't forgot about me. So glad you guys are here. Actually, I'm glad all of you guys are here. You guys are amazing. All right. Here we go. All right, so let me get back to where we were. So we had made it through Japheth's line, and now we're gone into Ham's line. It says, these are the sons of Ham, and it according to their families and their numbers in those days were about 730 men. So out of Ham's line, you had 730 men. Actually, did I skip a whole bloodline? I did, didn't I? We just left Shem out altogether. All right. Why does it keep doing that to me? It keeps skipping me down to the end. That's Japheth. These are the sons of Ham, Cush, and the sons of Mitzrayim were Lud, Anam, Pathros, Chesloth, and Chapter. All right, that's right. I am right. I guess I didn't read as far down as I thought I did. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. It says, and these are the sons of, and the sons of Ham according to their families, and their numbers in those days were about 730 men. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Aparshad, Lud, and Aram. 5 sons, and the sons of Elam were Shushan, Mashul, and Harmon. So, like, these people here would be this man's grandsons. These people, so these 3 people are grandsons. So you got, all this is just showing you is 3 lineages, like 3 generations. You got Shem, Elam, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram, and then their 5 sons. And then they have, Elam has 3 sons by this time. They obviously don't have grandsons yet, or they're not mentioned yet. The point is, this kind of goes back to my timeline stuff that I was showing you guys, and then we'll get to. I'm actually going to go back to that in a second. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Boom. So all I'm showing you is that what we're reading right here is this right here. You got Arphaxad, which is a Parshad in Jasher. It's Arphaxad in Genesis. In the Genesis the King James version. Then you got Selah, Eber, Peleg, Ru. These people come from Arphaxad, not these folks. So what you're seeing in my timeline here is not necessarily that each one of these people's timeline. Like there is no marking out how long they lived. That part was never, I guess, relevant or necessary for us, but it just wasn't, that information was never given to us. What we have are these people who come from a specific line. Like it's kind of like what we were going over explaining before. Let me change that. It's kind of how I was explaining the line of the path, and how there's just a single line, and then we branch off. Well, the way I read through all this is that God's trying to keep us all on this center path here, even in the physical, the spiritual, and all the way down to the genetic makeup of who we are. All I'm saying is that the God that is responsible for all these lives being in existence and you and me being here today is some powerful creator that no matter how much we think on him, we will never be able to really comprehend this creator. It's amazing how he was able to put all this together throughout time, throughout history, and how everything was able to unfold exactly when it was supposed to, and happen exactly when it was supposed to, and did happen exactly as it was supposed to. All of these events throughout time, good or bad, we today should be thankful that all we have to do is read about them. We don't have to experience the turmoil and the struggles that they experience. We experience it on a deeper level in some other ways through the lack of our understanding of our spiritual side. These people that we're reading about, Elam, Asher, Aparshad, or Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram, these people on scale would have been here. Actually, let me just bring this up. This is what it'll be easier to just show it to you. What I'm trying to say. So I have worked on these heights in differentiating these different heights throughout between the antediluvian people and the post-flood people, even the today's people. Trying to understand how big all these people were, it's almost impossible. Sisters one beard. Here's what thank you very much for that, brother Mad Pax. Thank you for that, or sister. All right, so let me get back over here. All right, that's amazing. All right, so what I'm trying to tell you is that those people right here, Shem is this guy. We're going to give him this nice big purple head up here, and he's got a long body and little bitty legs. But there we go. We got Shem. And he's so many feet tall. We don't know how tall he is exactly. But what you have here are that's you and me. This is us today. This is Shem. His son or sons, Elam, Asher, Elar, Asher is Arphax. It's easier to say Arphax. Lud and Aram, they were roughly somewhere around that in scale. And what happens is right now you have roughly 730 men, and all of these men would be roughly this tall, but it would be slowly getting shorter. And that's 730, and that's just from the line of Shem. When we go back up, you had from the line of Ham, he had, let's see, where is Ham? Did it say how long that was? But how many they had? I know it said for Japheth, it said they, here in Japheth, it said they had 460 men. And then 730 men in Ham's line. In Shem's line, he had, it says, I think I said that wrong earlier. These are the sons of Shem according to their families, and their numbers in those days were about 300, about 300 men. So let's correct this, because I'm just going over Shem's line. So they had roughly 300 people, give or take, within that height, in that size. Okay, this is where it all gets tricky, because this is the first generation. Second generation was way smaller. Like they ended up being roughly around like that, just within reason, but still way bigger than us. You'll see, like I bet even if JT went back through all of his videos, he will see pictures and paintings of people roughly this size difference, but also people roughly this size difference. And what I'm saying is that what you're seeing not all the time are necessarily saints, but people from a different time period. When these paintings and pictures that they're finding come about it's all up for grabs as far as when this painting was taken, picture was made, or whatever. What we know is that all living things were killed on the earth when the flood happened. What we don't know is how much of the earth or world was left unaffected. And what I mean by unaffected, I don't mean completely unaffected. Obviously, if there's a flood over the whole world, every place is affected. What I mean is that there would be places within the world, and we learn that through this book, that in the world, these places end up still being intact, like some of the buildings and structures. So what I'm saying is that no one knows what artifacts, paintings, drawings, books, whatever, anything, normal, regular stuff that was preserved or found from before the flood, or if there was anything even available to be found. But it seems to reason that there were, especially when it says things like the sons of Japheth and Ham go out to seek and find these old buildings and cities that are left over from the flood, before the flood. And so it tells us that later on, but that's me cheating and giving y'all some information before we've read it. I'm just kind of giving those little seasoners here a different angle on these people. What you'll end up finding throughout history are situations like this. Let's back this all the way up, all right? Let's just get it all the way back. What you'll have is situations like this. In those days, people married their wives and daughters off to their daughters off to be married. You know, do betrothals. There was no let's get on Tinder or go to the bar and find us somebody to hook up with, date, whatever, fall in love with and get married. That didn't exist in this time. These people didn't have time for that, nor did they have time for games that go along with all of that. So what these people were having to do was, when Elam would have a son and then Asher would have a daughter, Elam's son would marry Asher's daughter. So you would marry your cousin, so to speak. That's how they mixed around. But it would be set up. So you know that every man and woman is going to get married and have a child, or at least have the opportunity to. That's how all three brothers were treating their initial children. It's how Japheth, Ham, and Shem, despite their shortcomings and their issues that they may have had, this is post-flood. Like their sons may not have experienced the world before the flood, but their dads definitely did. They wouldn't be playing games with them and letting them just do whatever, is all I'm pointing out with that. And what I'm saying is that what ends up happening, actually, welcome back, Biblically Based. Glad to see you here. And I heard my thing, so I think someone else just joined the club. So thank you guys for being here. But what I was saying, and before I get distracted, I was reading Miss Trish Clark's nice little message there. It says, what I was pointing out is that you have to understand perspective and logic. If there were people I'm not trying to draw good. I really can draw well, though. But I'm not trying to draw that good. This is just represents a whole bunch of these people. And all these people are this big. And let's just say your grandfather is Shem. So you know y'all all come from Shem. Well, that's one son. Arphax has $3. You got 3 sons. He needs 3 wives. Arphax has 3 wives. He heard that from Ham over there. Said Arphax got 3 wives. Look at them over there with their nice little hair. You know, they have a lot. Whatever. I'm not drawing really good hair. Actually, I think I was doing that wrong. I don't know how to draw stick people. I can draw real people though. Anyways, so you got 3 little ladies over here. Well, they're on average, let's just give them benefit of the doubt and say they're 6 foot tall. These guys are 15 foot tall. These guys, Shem is going to look at this and go, no, we're not doing this. This isn't going to work. Who has a son that's 6 foot tall? And let's say, all right, let's just say, all right, so that's Arphax. Let's say Aram has a son that's the same height. He's just a little bit more than that. He's like 6'3". We'll give him 6'3". He's a little bit taller than 6 foot. So as the betrothal, the man setting up the one in charge, the one setting up who gets married to who, it only makes more sense that you betroth that guy to one of these guys, these gals, this guy to one of these gals. And then when it comes to the big fella over here, the big fellas, you betroth them. Actually, you betroth them to the 15-foot tall women. What ends up happening is you end up with the world like this, where you have a few people over here that are 15 foot tall. But then you might have some people way over here in this other little spot, and they're 6 foot tall. Well, without communication and ability to travel and whatnot necessarily, because I mean, it is post-flood era. After these people die that we're reading about, and their grandchildren come about, their grandchildren grow up over here, separate from these giant people over here. But eventually, someone's going to travel back and forth. One of them, some of them, or all of them. At some point, they're going to move around. They're going to travel. No one's going to just sit still. If you guys knew there was a way and ability to get out of here and go move around, we would all be doing that. Most of us wouldn't be just sitting here. But what I'm saying is that these people were moving around, and you would have had situations kind of like Gulliver's Travels, where some people would have been shorter or smaller, but it's normal. And you would have bigger people, and it's normal. It's why some places will look like the old stuff that you see is bigger, but it's not necessarily giant size bigger. 13 foot tall, 15 foot tall is not a giant. What's a giant is 150 foot tall or 2.5 miles tall. That's a giant. Creatures that had to have 7 miles of water above them in order to drown them, because you couldn't drown them unless you had 7 miles of water. It was a deep happening. What happened with that flood? It drowned the like crazy giant people. The thing is, before that, though, I mean, during this time, what we're talking about is post-flood era. It's those giants are all dead. The problem is that what ends up happening is people now have figured out a thing or two, learned a thing or two. And it says that there were giants in those days and also after, or there was Nephilim in those days and also after. Well, most people won't like that reason when I tell them. As far as I can tell, I don't know how that happened. I know there's a lot of speculation on it, and there are some firm theories to go along with that, but I don't want to go over my opinion on that again. What I can say is that this right here is where all the people up to Jesus come from. The world that we're reading about, even in the days of Jesus, is nothing like the movies. It's nothing like the Chosen One series. It's nothing like any of these movies that they put out. It's not like any of those movies. All of those movies put us in some type of depraved caveman-like state is what that does. We were never cavemen. People have always been strong and smart and capable. We've always been this way ever since before the Garden of Eden. If Adam and Eve had not ate from that tree, they would have figured out how to make a cell phone at some point. At some point, they would have figured out how to make some way to communicate with each other over long distances. They weren't just supposed to be in the Garden of Eden, just them two alone. They were supposed to make babies. Those babies you would expect would also make babies. So they were meant to reproduce and just carry on. They failed in that, and then we come about way after that. What society has done over the last couple hundred years is put ourselves and allowed us doctrines that teach us to put ourselves within Scripture where we don't belong. It gets us to where we're seeking after things that don't benefit us. All of these people, they end up being judged. Brother Trey, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's 5 more memberships. That's amazing. Thank you for that, Brother Trey. It says in line 19, these are the generations of Shem. Shem begat Aparshad, and Aparshad begot Shelach, and Shelach begot Eber. And to Eber were born 2 children. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the sons of men were divided, and in the latter days the earth was divided. What this is kind of alluding to, and this is just like a little Easter egg that they give you. What it's saying here, the name of one was Peleg, for in his days the sons of men were divided, and in the latter days the earth was divided. The earth was divided. All this is telling you is that, like, if you were to read that name out as it would be read in Hebrew, his name would reflect what we just read. Like, that's how you would know who you're talking about. And the name of the second was Yoktan, meaning that in his day the lives of the sons of men were diminished and lessened. The lives of the sons of men would diminish and lessen. It means that they would be shorter lifespans, and then just smaller frame people altogether. These are the sons of Yoktan: Almodad, Shelaph, Chazarmoeth, Yerach, Haduram, Ozil, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these are the sons of Yoktan. And Peleg was his brother, begot Yen, and Yen begot Serug, and Serug begot Nahor, and Nahor begot Terah. It's going through these lines, through this lineage, to emphasize certain people and why they're here. These men, as it was telling you in verse 21, the sons of Yoktan, they're not the sons of Peleg, but it wants you to know where some of the wives would have come from, is all it's telling you, is all it should be telling you. I could be wrong on that, but that's how I figured some of this stuff out, by looking at it like that. So it's kind of just figured that's why they would do that, because I mean, why else would you name a whole line there, and it doesn't matter no more? It doesn't really make it would be it just makes sense to me. So all I'm saying is that I don't know how else to explain that. I wish I could be more I wish I could explain that better. And Peleg his brother, though, begot Yen, and Yen begot Serug, and Serug begot Nahor, and Nahor begot Terah. And Terah was 38 years old, and he begat Haran and Nahor. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son, and called his name Nimrod. Now we get Nimrod. But Nimrod doesn't come from any of these other people necessarily. He comes directly from Cush. So he, even though being born during this time period when everybody is now shorter and smaller, he is born a third generation. Ham, Cush, Nimrod. So he is still big. It's why I broke my timeline up in a way, or drew it out a certain way where certain lines were thicker to help me visualize and see the height perspective difference. When Nimrod is born, he's not just a normal kid. He's a regular person, true, but he's big already. He's already much bigger than everyone else. And this is important to understand because it's going to make this next line make even way more sense to you. All right. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son and called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time the sons of men began to rebel and transgress against God. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. And the garments of skin which God made for Adam and his wife when they went out of the garden were given to Cush. The garments that God made for Adam and Eve were the skin of a lion. He killed a lion and skinned it and made clothes for them so that they wouldn't have to just be wearing a fig leaf over their private parts. He actually made them garments. These garments were kept within the Sethian line. They were kept secret all the way up through Noah, to Noah. It's what allowed Methuselah to defeat, I can't remember what battle that was. It was another book I read that in. But the point is, if one man defeated like 1,000 people or 10,000 men or something like that, it's because these garments gave them like some weird superhuman strength. Like it gave them superpowers, and for a lack of better words, that's what it was. It gave them superpowers. And so all I'm saying is that regardless of the validity of that or not, it doesn't have to be literal. It could be metaphorical to some degree, I guess. The point is that it wouldn't matter anyways. It doesn't change anything. It's well over and done with. Like these times are long gone. But the point is that Cush, that gave him these garments. These garments were stolen by Ham. Noah had them, and he meant for Shem to get them or to have them. But instead, Ham took them. Ham kept them secret, gave them to Cush. Then Cush kept them secret. Cush had sons. He didn't tell his sons about it, the garments. And his sons went out and did their thing. His sons had sons. So he had grandsons. So Cush even had grandsons and great-grandsons. But then in his old age, he has Nimrod. That's when he passes this secret down and says, hey, Nimrod, we got this secret society going. Let's go. Here's your stuff. Now you're strong. You're going to rule the world, buddy. And after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. When Enoch was taken up to God, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. See, I didn't lie to you. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark, and they were with him until he went out of the ark. In other words, he didn't lose sight of them until he went out of the ark. He got drunk, and then Ham stole them from him. That's how he was able to see his nakedness. The other sons didn't know that, though. They didn't understand that. Shem didn't understand that. Japheth didn't understand that. I'm not sure how Ham figured it out. But the way I understand this thing is that when he saw him drunk, he didn't just see him naked. He knew him. To know him means to undress him, to see him naked and to enter him. But in this way, he just took the garments from him. the brothers end up walking backwards with like a robe or something. They don't think anything of it. It's just weird. Their dad wears the same stuff all the time. But you don't question Noah. Not when you just survived a flood. And so it's just one of those things that Japheth and Shem kind of understand a little bit more, that not everything is important for us to know. If Noah wanted them to know, he would have told them, and they would also know. I don't know how Ham found out, but he did, and he took them. He says, and they're going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days, up until Nimrod. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begot Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and God gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yes, he was even a mighty hunter in the field. And he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered the animals up before the Lord. He would have been an amazing ruler in a time where all of the other so-called rulers are probably not being good to them. You know, he's going to defeat really all of his other people that are his size, essentially, to where it's just he's the last of the strong men is what his goal is to set himself up for. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. And the Lord delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands, and God prospered him from time to time in his battles, and reigned upon the earth. And what I'm trying to tell you and show you here is how these people, the way this is working out and the way this is unfolding in real time, as you know, as you would be going through time, what's happening is you might have whole nations. Let's make this a little bigger. You might have a whole group of people over here that are ruled over by a lot of these ancestral type people that are just slightly bigger than them, or double their height, so to speak. They're not real good to them, though. They're not being good anymore. Everybody's starting to rebel now. It's a rebellious state. It's going to take someone really like Nimrod to get everybody under control. Because what's happening is that certain areas of the world, you'll have big people in charge of little people, but these are, for a lack of better words, assholes. And so it's not a good time, really. They're not doing good. They're not being real nice and real, it's just not working out. And so God is awesome in how he foresees all this stuff. Like, he just knows all this stuff's going to happen way before it happens. And you just had to know that God had to know all this was going to unfold, that Ham was going to steal those garments from Noah in a way. While this ends up not necessarily, in a way, while Nimrod is still a villain now, don't get it twisted, he's still a villain. It takes a villain in this moment to keep God from having to, he's not even considering judging anybody yet. The world's been flooded, but people are starting to rebel against God. As they're starting to rebel, God isn't that, he ain't liking it, but he ain't quite pissed off yet. He hasn't gotten to the prophets where he needs them to come in and start talking sense to people. Right now, it's just looking at it going, well, I did destroy everything, so let's see if they can get it out of their system. And one way to do that is to present Nimrod, now a much stronger character than the other characters around. So you got all these NPCs, normal people, and now you got a boss a boss character coming into the game. Nimrod strengthened himself, rose up against his brethren, and they went to war. He fought all. If you're big and strong, he's going to fight you. He's going to challenge you. So you're either going to run and hide, or you're going to have to stand and fight, plain and simple. And the Lord delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands, and God prospered him. And the brethren he's talking about are the other sons of of Cush. The ones that didn't get the garments and their children, their lineage, it's Ham's lineage. That's the other sons, his brother, and the enemies of his brethren would have been his bloodline, anybody against his bloodline. So that would have been Shem or Ham. So if there were big people, that's those names that we went over, those people would have had to fight to survive. Now that Nimrod is on the scene, this is the type of character Nimrod is. He can only be one. That's in his mind. He can be the only one. If there are other big people, he's going to fight them. And you'll see that in like stories like, sort of like in Epic of Gilgamesh, stuff like that, in just old Sumerian type of tales and whatnot. You'll get people like Billy Carson reading from some fake emerald tablet. I don't know. It's where all those stories come from. And the Lord delivered all the enemies to his hands, and God prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned upon the earth. Even though Nimrod's not great, God is still kind of like, yeah, they need it. Go ahead. He's basically, it's the lesser of two evils. Ultimately, it will be up to the people to decide their own fate. But at this moment, he is allowing people to be led. They're being led by Nimrod at this moment. When he was 40 years old, and at that time, there was a war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, and that they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men, and he hired also from some of his friends and acquaintances, probably people that were not necessarily of those particular lines, but still within his lineage, about 80 men, and he gave them their hire, and he went with them to battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. I mean, if a man that's twice my size almost, was leading our army, I'd be pretty confident too, especially knowing that he done whooped all the other big people. I would be pretty confident in that is all I'm saying. And Nimrod went at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families. They strengthened their hearts of the people that went with them. And he said to them, "Do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please." And he took some of the children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. They don't really want you to know a lot about Nimrod because of what color his skin was. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren together with those who knew him before assembled to make him king over them. And they placed the regal crown upon his head. And he set over his subjects and people, princes and judges and rulers, as is the custom among kings. He placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of hosts, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. See, Terah don't even come from the line of Ham. He comes from Shem. He's rebelling too. So at this moment, it doesn't matter what line you come from. If you're living at that time, you're all messing up, really. All three bloodlines are really screwing up. You need someone to come in and fix things. Why you have one individual like this that changes a whole lot of things for a lot of people. That's why I think that's why I don't like it when people say, I'm just one person, what can I do? There's one person that did a lot here. And he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of hosts, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. He loved Terah. Terah's probably a good person, though. That Shem's line was a righteous line. He was probably fairly righteous, but at the same time can still be ignorant in his ways, in doing wrong. And while he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. A whole city just for his palace. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. Nimrod dwelt in Shinar. First of all, I don't think we'll ever find this place. I don't think we've ever found it, and I don't think we ever will, unless we're going outside the ice wall. But that's neither here nor there. Moving forward, it says he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became Lord and king. And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. Whether he was a villain or a good person or not doesn't change a thing. He was in charge. He was the ruler of the earth. He was in charge. Nimrod was the man. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord. And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days. He was more wicked than anybody that ever lived, is what this is all that's telling you. He was the most wicked person. The most horrible movies, rated R, rated X movies, where they're doing terrible stuff to people, and you kind of have to close your eyes. Those type of, he was on that level. He just did horrible stuff to people. He was a terrible human being. You will get tons and tons of horror stories from this guy. And and everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, the wicked go forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked go forth wickedness. And it was current in the words of men from that time to this. And Terah, the son of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's host, was in those days very great in the sight of the king, and his subjects and the king and princes loved him, and they elevated him very high. For whatever reason, Terah and his boys, they are all about them some Nimrod. But then you get Terah. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthelo, to the daughter of Cornebo. And the wife of Terah conceived, and bare him a son in those days. Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthelo, the daughter of Cornebo, and the wife of Terah convinced and bare him a son in those days. That son, Terah, was 70 years old when he begot him, and Terah called his name of that son born to him Abram, because the king had raised him in those days, and dignified him above all his princes that were with him. All right. So that's all of chapter 7. Let me see where we're at. Okay. So chapter 8 comes next. Yeah. So chapter 8 will be coming next. That will be, wow, Thursday. I moved through this really quickly. I did not realize that. See, that's what happens when I don't focus on chat and I just stick to the program, to the programming over here. All right, so chapter 8 is going to be really interesting. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a fun one to go through. I think y'all will enjoy that. What we learned so far, going back through chapter 7, though, are some names. We were given a list of names to keep an eye on. These names will come up again throughout Scripture at some point. And in some cases, you won't hear some of these names until you get to Kings and Judges. You got to go pretty good ways past. You got to go through this thing pretty good bit to really catch all these names. Some of these names, though, are mentioned because that's who some of these people's mothers come from. Not necessarily that they're all male lineages. Some of them do have female lineages. The misconception with that, though, comes from how biblically everything is kind of like laid out as far as the traditional bloodline would start with the male seed, the men in the family. The names, though, are all in here so that when you're in the temple going through, well, all right, so you're wanting to marry so-and-so, let's make sure we're not mixing over improperly. We know who you are and whatnot. It wasn't necessarily about race. The division of marriage and all that didn't have anything to do with race or color up to this point. It had only to do with their size and difference. The only reason a person wouldn't marry into this line or that line was because of the size and difference in those people. There was no, Ham don't go marry Shem. Shem don't go marry Japheth. Japheth, you stay in the north. Shem, you stay in the middle. Ham, you stay down in the south. None of that segregation when in marriage comes about until we get to the point where Nimrod is dead. After Nimrod dies, that's when you'll start seeing people say, no, don't marry someone in this line, don't marry someone in that line. And then people will start these racial theories and add race to these people. Oh, they must have looked this way or that way, or they must have been this color or that color. The separation and division in all of that comes from simply the way their hearts are aligned. Either you're aligned with God or you're aligned with Nimrod, so to speak. And in this case, it would have been Nimrod for most people. But then you had some people that were kind of on the fence. Terah was in a good position, but not because he was necessarily special. What we'll end up learning is that Nimrod placed him in that elevated position. Now, he did love Terah, and he had a lot of mad respect for Terah. But he didn't love him until he knew who he was and what he was about. In a way, Nimrod acts like the big bad boss man, and then you have Terah is more or less his kind of like his confidant. He's just a guy that really understands God correctly. Or at least has an understanding of righteousness, a level of righteousness about him that kind of makes Nimrod question his actions sometimes. It's why he favors him eventually, but him being placed in that position was a military move. That's a strategic move. If Nimrod comes from the line of Ham, and then you got Shem over here with the line, it only makes sense that you take people from either Shem's line or Japheth's line or both, and place them in positions of power and authority within the ranks of your own people. It's a way to win favoritism over your would-be subjects or anybody that you would conquer from that group or that area. Whether these people wanted to worship Nimrod or not, they were under his authority and under his control. He was ruling the whole world. So far, we haven't seen God get too upset yet. Regardless of how bad things were, God has not quite pissed off enough to really do anything to hurt anybody on a major level. Yet we haven't seen anything like Nineveh. We haven't seen anything like Sodom and Gomorrah yet. At this point, you would still have a devastated world. The world would still be in ruins. You would still have cities and dwellings and areas throughout the world that have still yet to be inhabited, perhaps, still areas that still haven't been explored and rediscovered. So a lot of people are active and they're moving all over the world and they're roaming around. When Nimrod comes into the scene, he says enough of that. And he brings everybody together. And they all come to the city. Outside of the city, you will have people like rogues, bandits, thieves, shepherds, people that would require more area to move around than just those in the cities. Kind of like today. Very similar to the way things are today. Difference is we have a lot of rural areas and we feel like and seem like we're moving around and getting around a good bit. We can. These people were isolated. Nimrod's going to end up ruling over these people, but it's going to be a terrible rulership. He's going to kill people. He's going to torture people. You will get conspiracy rabbit holes out of him for days. You'll have enough content for the rest of your YouTube career if you want to go down those trails. I think it's interesting because a lot of people already have, or a lot of people have already actually been through all those trails and seen all those things and pointed all that stuff out. The thing I find fascinating is they don't realize where it comes from sometimes. They don't realize almost every idea anyone ever has had comes from this book. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today, just earlier, and I was explaining to him, I said, have you ever heard of this show on Prime called Invincible? It's about a guy who comes from another planet, has a kid here. His kid's name is Invincible. Him and his dad get into a big argument. They fight. A lot of people die, but they don't because they're invincible. But his dad is a Viltrumite, and his dad comes from another planet called Viltrum. And in that planet, everybody was the strongest. They were the strongest people or beings in all of the universe. And what happens is these men and women within that society can't decide who's going to lead them because they're all pretty strong. None of them are any stronger than the other necessarily. So they fight. They have a civil war that leads to the death of almost every one of them. They almost go extinct. They're down to like 150 of them or something like that. But they're the strongest of the strong. And these people before the flood, way back here in chapters 1, 2, and 3, during the days of Enoch, all of those people would have been similar to that. Like the idea of what they're talking about in that show comes from this. It comes from the Bible. It comes from a time period. That whole idea comes from a time period where people were really strong. There were no weak people. They just weren't as strong as Noah or the line of Seth because they had the garments that kept them stronger than all the other men around them. That's why their line was able to survive within purity. Within purity. The reason they were able to survive within purity during the days of the flood and not be corrupted with marrying a Nephilim or a demon lady or whatever, they were able to stay pure in their line because they were strong enough to protect themselves from, for a lack of better words, from temptation. Whereas after the flood, no one really has the garments. There's a lot of people again, but now you have Nimrod with them, and he rules over everybody. But nobody knows why and how he's strong. They just know he's big and strong, and you don't mess with him, and you're not going to go to battle against Nimrod. But Nimrod ends up being a major player and a major person into why we end up being deceived in the way that we are. Everything we're reading about and going over in Jasher, just like we went over in Revelation in that series, will help open, I guess will help with answering certain questions that people are always going to have when it comes to the little season. And I know this is a Jasher series, and I know this is a Bible study. But this Bible study, it spawned as a result of the little season becoming as mainstream as it's becoming. It's becoming to a point where it's taken over like an idea. Just like back in those days with Nimrod, curse comes, the wicked comes from the wicked, or from the wicked goeth the wicked. It's just that become so widespread. It was just a thing that everybody knew. It was like a proverb, kind of like any old saying is today. It's just, these proverbs come from real events in time. Things like London bridges falling down, that song. It's not a proverb, that's a song actually, but that was a real event that took place. A lot of these old tales and stories we hear and these sayings and whatnot come from all of these events that we read and learn about through Jasher throughout this whole series. It helps, for me, it helped to go through all of this because it helped me make sense of the New Testament, whereas before it was I don't know, it was always hard to interpret. It was hard really to understand. I mean, I knew there was a Jesus, and I knew I was supposed to love him. I know I'm supposed to seek after the truth, and as far as I know, everybody worships and loves the same Jesus. Ooh, that actually reminds me. I wanted to show this. But that's one thing we hear a lot. Actually, I'm going to go back to this. So, we hear this often, how we're all brothers in Christ. I know that's our favorite thing to say in the little season, especially when it comes to naysayers. When it comes to people that don't believe us or don't believe we're in the little season, we love throwing that we're all brothers in Christ around, as if we all worship and love and serve the same Jesus. I'm about to show you guys something that's been on my mind a while, and I know there are a lot of content creators that are dependent on not saying some of this stuff the way I'm going to say it so that they don't lose credibility within the YouTube creator network. I don't care about that. Like, you guys, I love you guys, and I'm so thankful and grateful that you guys have shown your graciousness and your love through memberships and through the donations. That is amazing that you guys have done that. But I don't care if YouTube ever pays me a dime. I don't care about that. Some people need it though. Some people want that though. And some people don't have any other choice but that. So it's important that they stay in line. They got to stay on their path right here. Whatever path that took them off of. Now they can, I don't know, they can come back to this at some point. I'm not saying they can't. What I'm saying is that whatever path these people are on, this is their path. Now we went through this before already in another live stream, so I'm not going to bore you to death with that part of it. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to understanding some of this stuff in Scripture, these people that we're reading about, when it comes to their lines and understanding whether or not we need to adhere to this doctrine or that doctrine, whether we need to be a Baptist or a Methodist or a Catholic or this or that, we will say often, well, we're worshiping the same Jesus. They're just coming at it from a different approach or whatever, to justify what they're doing so that we don't hurt their feelings and whatnot. We don't want to throw anybody off with the little season, and we don't want to scare anybody away from it, especially new and would-be Christians. And I know a lot of people don't want to say what I'm about to say and show what I'm about to show, but this is what I'm talking about whenever I say things like, there are many Jesuses, but there's only one that's real. Which one do you serve? Which one do you worship? Well, it's like this. You have a doctrine, and we'll call it Baptist. And then you got another doctrine, we'll call it Methodist. And then you got another one, we'll call it Catholic. Then you got another one, we'll call it Mormon. And then you have, let's just say, Little Season. We'll just call it Little Season. We'll just make it simple. We're Little Seasoners, we'll call it Little Season. All right. Each one of these are paths. This path is a doctrination line. It's a doctrine. You have to be in line with this in order to be indoctrinated into this. You can't be a Baptist if you don't follow this path. You got to do what this path tells you. It's the same as a Methodist. You can't be a Methodist. You could be a hypocrite now. You can be a hypocrite. But you cannot call yourself a Methodist if you don't follow the Methodist path. If you don't follow the Catholic path, don't go to Mass, then you're not a Catholic. If you don't go and talk to the priest in that little room that they talk to each other in, then you're not a Catholic. If you're a Mormon, if you're not following the Mormon path, you're not a Mormon. You're not these people, you're not these doctrines unless you do the things and learn the things within their doctrine so that you can be indoctrinated. What this has done is it's created 1, 2, 3, 4. So far that's 4. I hadn't even mentioned all the other doctrines yet. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 50 doctrines. I don't know. How many doctrines are there? 150? How many doctrines? They're all different doctrines. But each one of them is represented by a path. You're going to follow that path. You're going to stay within the traditions of that. They try to hide this with words like tradition, and they'll say, well, their doctrines are that way due to their traditions. No, it's the way they believe. It's what they believe and the way they believe. It has nothing to do with their traditions. I've been to both of these, and they both have the same traditions. Their traditions are no different. Their beliefs are different. Their literal, actual beliefs of who Jesus is different. Within the Little Season community, all of ours understanding will be and should be the same. And if you're a Baptist and you understand and learn what the Little Season people are talking about, your understanding of Jesus will be the same as ours as well. But if you're a Methodist and you say, I don't look at that. I don't want to look at that. Well, you're over here and you're not over here. You're not on the same path that we're on. The Baptist guy or fella or lady or whatever is, because they've done come over here and realized, oh yeah, this is the truth. I've been lied to. What this is going to create, this is where the problems with this is, they don't want these people to be so thrown off. They don't want these people to be thrown off by the Little Season so bad that they never even consider it. We're worried that these people are never going to come to Jesus, so we're jeopardizing our own selves to save people who don't want to be saved necessarily. They believe they're already saved because they believe in a Jesus that has not come yet. They believe in a Jesus that is coming sometime in the future, but still not today, still not tomorrow, still not next year, next week, and no time soon is he coming. That's what they believe. The Jesus they believed in did not come back as he said he would. They believe in Jesus. They believe in a person that was named Jesus. They believe he existed. But they don't believe in the same Jesus that I believe in. The Jesus I believed in lived 1,000 years. And then he left. Where is he at? I don't know yet. We'll get to that part. But everybody else, the Jesus they believe in, is nowhere to be found. But never was. He never existed. Jesus never didn't come back. Jesus never didn't do the things he said he was going to do. Jesus always did exactly what he said he was going to do. 100%. Every word in this King James uncopyrighted 1611 King James Version Bible is true, is to the best of my understanding of all of it. None of it's false, none of it's fake, none of it's made up. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is that I understand that there will be people that'll look at this and go, I don't know. This is all I ever known. I don't understand this, so I'm going to stay here. Okay, they're staying there. It doesn't matter if Jesus come 10 minutes from now. It wouldn't matter that they didn't want to hear this or not, that they rejected this 10 minutes ago. It's oh well for them. It is too late for them. 10 minutes from now, if they don't make that choice, they're done. It's over. Doesn't matter how good their lives were. They denied the truth. They rejected the truth. The truth is Jesus, the way, the word, and the life. Anything that involves denying this man's name right here, anything he said or stood for, is denying Jesus. To deny Jesus is an unforgivable sin. You will not go before the white throne of judgment. You die, you go to hell, straight to the lake of fire. There is no, oh, well, I didn't know, I didn't understand. No, you know now. All of us online know right now. Everyone in chat knows what I'm saying right now. We all understand what time we're in. We all understand Jesus came back. But there are people that still, and it will always, Jesus wins here, he loses here. Over here, he loses because he doesn't do what he said he's going to do. Over here, he wins because he does do what he says he's going to do. These people on this side over here, I love these people the same as anyone else. I love them the same as I love all of our people. All of these people. Believers, non-believers, I love them all. I love everybody, and I want everybody to be saved. I want everyone to have an opportunity to understand what you and I in this chat today understand about this book. I want all of these people to be saved. I want them all to have peace and joy in their hearts. I want everyone to have the same love and opportunity at life and at understanding Christ as actually there you go. I lost y'all for a minute. I want everybody to have this opportunity. The issue is that there are people within this community that are going to look at this and go, how do I get this out without offending anybody? How do I get this out without losing this deal or this contract or this or that? I never meant for my life to be my life. Like I never meant to be just a little Caesar guy. Like I really wanted your desires, all those are desires. I don't give a I don't care about those desires. I don't care what you wanted to do or who wanted to do this or who wanted to do that. I don't care if my favorite pastor, a guy that I've known for 20 years, if his entire congregation hears this message clear enough to where they can't say they didn't understand what was being said to them, and they still reject this, I'm as done with them as God is. I don't have to waste any more time with them, and I can move on and go about my life and do the other things that I want to do with it, whether it's continuing to serve the Lord or growing crops or whatever it is I might be doing. But the point is, if you reject Christ after being shown him, your place isn't with me. You're not cut from the same cloth as me. You're not from the same seed as me. We're not of the same fruit. We don't bear the same fruit. I know that these other doctrines, people are going to argue with me on this and say, well, they're good. They're decent people. They're not trying to be misled, or they don't know they're misled. I understand that. I get that most of them only believe what they believe because it's the only thing they've ever heard or known. I totally get that. I don't care, though. I don't care what you've been told your whole life. You need to be told something different. You need to be told the truth. That if I look over here to my right, there's a door right there. It's a metal frame door. That door will never become curtains. It will never become shades. A shade that pulls up. It's only a door. It only operates one way. It can only become something different if you change it. The only way to change that door is to take it off, remove it, and put a different thing there. It's always going to be what it is. Doesn't matter what someone else has been told it is. Once they understand, oh, well, it's a door, it's not a curtain. This is a curtain that's behind me. They go, I didn't know. I was always wrong. And you move on. You don't sit there and dwell on that and go, oh, I was lied to my whole life. You just move on. The same with this. If when we present this, I understand it's not good for every person that understands this to present this. Not everybody has the mouthpiece to get these words out so others can understand them. We learned that from simple things like Moses and Aaron, where Moses had a hard time talking, so he lets Aaron do all the talking for him. But he tells Aaron basically what he wants him to say and whatnot. Move on. All I'm saying is that not everybody can talk the way I'm talking right now. Not everybody has it in them to do that. And so I do understand that not everybody has enough information in their head on this to be able to say, hey, let's debate over this. So it's not for everyone to go out and just make a reckless fool of ourselves. I'm not saying to do that. I'm not saying that we need to go out and stand in front of the church and yell and raise our Bibles and say, y'all are lying, y'all are all going to hell. We're not condemning anyone. We don't need to condemn anyone. We simply just need to understand who these ones are. Once we understand where they're at and what place they're in, then we can approach them in the way that we're meant to. God will lead us in that way when that time comes. The thing is, a lot of people are afraid to call this a fact. They're afraid to call it what it is. They're afraid to acknowledge the full scope and depth of this thing and how important it is that everybody understands when we really are and what this Bible actually says about our time period that we're in. It's important because every time I look at this phone right here, every time I look at it, I see something new that's coming up in the world, and I'm like, man, they're pushing us closer and closer. I was hoping I'd be a granddaddy. The point I'm trying to make is that you don't know. I don't know. None of us know when Jesus is truly coming back. It could be as soon as I hit end on this broadcast right now. As soon as I hit stop streaming, Jesus could knock on my door. That's how quickly he could be coming back. All I'm saying is that If Jesus came back in the very moment that we refuse to tell someone what we know the truth is because we're afraid of how it may make them feel, God is going to hold us accountable for that person not getting the opportunity to reject him. It doesn't matter that it's 10 years, 15 years, or 50 or 1,000 years from now. If what you know is the truth, that's what you should stand on. I stand on the little season way of thinking because it aligns with what we believe to be the truth, and that's this book. Not just Jasher, but this book, the Holy Bible. It's this book from Genesis to Revelation, all the way to Revelation chapter 20, verse 8, where it tells us what's about to happen next. What is about to happen next is going to be people that believe they're from these lines. Gog and Magog. Now, they may be from these lines. And then some of these people may come back later on. But these lines are going to get wiped out here pretty soon through Jasher as I go through this series. They'll get wiped out. A lot of them. But the point is, we read this, and I don't trust Anne Murray to tell me what this book says. No offense, Anne Marie, I love you, but I don't trust Blixcard to tell me exactly what this book says. All I'm saying is that I love you guys and I trust y'all. And if y'all told me it said something, I probably would believe you. But what I'm saying is that I'm still going to read it and look at it myself. If you tell me it says, oh, Jesus came back, it says it in there, read it, I'm going to read it and look at it and I'm going to go, oh, yeah, Anne Marie was right. She did tell me that. She did say it was in there. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to say, well, I was wrong about that. But what I'm saying is that I'm not going to trust anyone out there in the world to tell me what this book says, especially if they haven't come to the realization of the little season. Those people can be arrogant and whatever, the same as me in that, and not want to listen to me either. It doesn't matter to me if they don't. I would love for them to, but I don't care if I don't get invited to the barbecue cookout or the hangout. I don't care if y'all don't invite me to stuff like that. If me talking about this as if it is the facts of the truth is going to bother people, then I don't want to be invited. All I'm saying to that is that when it comes to the little season, I understand a lot of people don't understand it fully. And so they're not willing to put all their cards into the basket yet. And I get that. That's fair and reasonable. But to the ones that have read this and do know this and do understand this, we shouldn't be afraid to stand on business when it comes to this. You don't want to be caught with your pants down. You don't want to be sitting here talking to your friend or somebody who has a checkbook open up in front of you and afraid to tell them about the Jesus that came back. If you're afraid to do that in that moment and Jesus comes back, how's that going to look for you when Jesus walks up to you and say, what do you mean you're not going to tell him? The point is, I'm not trying to encourage us to go out and cause problems. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that when it comes to all these other doctrines, I'm not going to sit here and allow all these other people who believe in all these other false doctrines to tell me whether or not what I believe is valid or not. I don't care what they think. They're all wrong. And I'm saying this publicly on YouTube. I will share this everywhere else and say it if I have to. It doesn't matter to me. They're all wrong. None of those ways are the right way. There's only one path. And that is the path that aligns with what Jesus spoke in that book, in this book. Exactly. When was the last time we're able to talk about Revelation on Joe Rogan? That's the only time that's happened, and it happened for a short segment of a almost 3-hour long podcast, but it did happen for a moment. They did talk about the little season for a moment, But they didn't really go into Revelation not that deep. You're right. They don't want to talk about Revelation, and they don't want to go through Revelation line by line the way we did. They don't want to do that because what it reveals is the truth. Just like if we could do what we did with Revelation, that series, I could do that. We could do that with any of these books, and it'll still reveal the same thing. It's not going to take away from it. It's going to it's just going to add to it, give you more details reading them other books. It's amazing that they don't, what we realize in the little season and how awakened and wide our eyes are open when it comes to all the deceptions in the world. They're everywhere and they're rampant. This is the wildest time and the best time to be alive. Wild in that everybody's deceived. And even back then, we saw during Nimrod's time, they weren't deceived. They knew who Nimrod was. They knew what he was about. There was no deception on what was going on and who's in control. They weren't hiding that. They understood God a lot better than we understand God today. So it offends me and bothers me when I see other content creators, not within our community, obviously, but outside of it, when they start talking about people in the past as if they were dumb, as if they were weak and frail and were struggling to survive and all that. That has never been the case, ever. As we can see here, that has literally never been the case. We've always been capable people, thinking people, smart, and educated to some degree type of people. I mean, there's never been a time where we were just dumb. Welcome to 2025, when we're all dumb. Apparently, we're all dumb now, but we weren't dumb before. We're living through that movie, Idiocracy. Exactly what we're doing. Like I said, I'm not trying to hurt these other pastors' feelings, and I'm not trying to make their congregations be mad at us. But what I am doing is I'm declaring that this book we call the Bible is the truth. And every word in it is the infallible truth. And if they're going to argue with me and tell me that I'm wrong, I'm down with that. But I don't need to hear you start with I think. Because the minute they start with I think, I know they're asking me to lean on their thoughts, and I'm not leaning on my own, so why would I lean on yours? All I'm saying is that if these folks want me to shut this channel down and shut up or whatnot, they're going to have to get in touch with the people who run YouTube and tell them to ban me again. This is the truth. This book is the truth. Everything in it is the truth. If they want to do that, that's fine. You can ban me if they want. I don't care. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to backpedal, and I'm not going to bend knees to people who believe in false doctrines. Those are all false doctrines. You cannot have all those different ways of belief and they're all worshiping the same true God. They are worshiping something else, period. I don't know what it is exactly for some of them, but it may not even be anything. It's themselves, I would imagine, for the most part. Point is, they're not true, accurate doctrines. If they're not real, they're not true. And if they're not the truth, they're not even like what we're saying. They have nothing to do with what we're saying. They have nothing to do with the little season. But not just that, they have nothing to do with Jesus, because Jesus Christ came back. He did not come back. It's like what I'm trying to emphasize with that. There was not a Jesus that did not come back. Like that Jesus didn't exist. So if your belief in Jesus is a Jesus that didn't come back, you believe in a Jesus that doesn't exist. You believe in a fairy tale. You believe in Viltrumites. You believe in X-Men. You believe in fairy tales is what you believe in. And so I get it. There are some in this community that don't want the burden of carrying that weight. And I get that. They have a lot to lose in this. I don't care though that much about what people lose as a result of this. I had to lose everything to understand this. I'm not saying everyone else has to lose everything as well. What I am saying is that I love everybody. And I want all of you guys, women and children and morons alike, all of us, to understand the truth and to be saved. If Jesus comes knocking tomorrow, everyone that understands the truth is saved. Everyone that doesn't understand the truth is not saved. They're spit out. They are the lukewarm Christians that he was talking about in Matthew. I think it was Matthew 20 or 24, one of those, whichever one it was, where he tells them, many will come in my name, calling on me, Lord, Lord. And I'll spit you out of my mouth, saying, I never knew you. I don't want God or Jesus to come back and say he didn't know me. I want him to come back and say, Josh, James, Rev, whatever name I decide to go by, call me up and say, let's go home. I don't want him to come. I don't want him to be down the road and me running down the street hollering, you forgot me. What about me? I don't want that to happen. But that is what will absolutely happen to every person that denies him. These people that we've read about in that Revelation series, they went through the worst events in human history. And they denied him. Because they denied him, they went through all of that. We got people today denying him in favor of not hurting this pastor's feelings over here because he's got a nice church community with 87 old people in it. And they're too stuck in their ways. You can't go in there rocking the boat, Jesus would, though. Jesus wouldn't necessarily be on YouTube right now. He'd be knocking them doors down in them buildings that they call churches. That's what Jesus would be doing. We're doing them a mercy by just simply talking online and not getting active and walking across the street every Sunday like I keep threatening that I might do one day. It's a mercy. It's being meek is what this is. I'm not being a coward and I'm not being an asshole. I'm not being weak. I'm being meek. Looking at someone who I know believes different and telling them to their face, no, you're wrong. I can help you understand that if you'd like. Let me show you. Oh, you don't want to know? Okay, well, I don't have no time for you no more. That's how we're supposed to be meek. That's how we're supposed to approach all of this. All I'm saying is that everything I just described on how people's behaviors should be, that's how these people understood how to live. We don't live in this time period. We live in a totally different time period, a deceived time period. When the time we're living in is the time of deception. It's the only time in history where we've been deceived the way we are. No other part of Scripture validates what we're going through right now, other than Revelation chapter 7 and 8, in chapter 20, verse 7 and 8. Like I said with Jasher, the only reason we're going through Jasher through this Bible study series is because Jasher, the Bible it validates Jasher. Jasher validates the Bible. And the same as if it doesn't, then we don't pay it no mind. Those other doctrines don't validate Scripture. They invalidate it. To give those people the benefit of the doubt is one thing. To give people that believe those doctrines is one thing, the benefit of the doubt. But now that we're awake and our eyes are open, we don't have an option no more. When it comes to it, and we're beholden to this book now and the things we know within it. We will be held accountable for everyone we didn't talk to when we had the opportunity to. Doesn't mean that we're all meant to go out and talk to millions and thousands. I'm saying when the pastor or whoever comes to you and says, hey, let's talk about Baptist ways, you know how to correct them. That's why we're going through this Bible study and trying to understand all this stuff. I didn't mean to go through the first half of this so quickly on the Jasher. I didn't realize I was moving along through it that fast. The truth is, I've read this thing so many times, it just kind of I kind of just breeze on through it sometimes. So if you guys do have questions about things that I might have went over or missed or anything like that, be sure to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. And if I can't address it in the comment, I'll address it in the next video or so. Look, I know one of you guys have asked about clothing. You've seen one of my short reels recently, and then it showed a sweater or like a pullover. So I have this plan, and I'm working on it. I may need some help, though. The way I want to do this is very unique. It might not be feasible, but what I'm saying is that I do have a merch style thing I'm working on. I've got to build a store. That's not the hard part. The hard part is figuring out who can print these clothes for me, or who can actually make them for me. I know that you guys will throw out a lot of different names of different companies or whatever if I ask you to. That's not the hard part. The easy part is finding all those people. The hard part is finding somebody that's going to make these clothes exactly the way I want them to be made. And what I'm referring to is that when you buy one of my shirts or clothing, for example, I'm going to go ahead and break this down. Miss Anne Marie. If Anne Marie buys one of my shirts and it's just a medium size t-shirt, and Miss Trish Clark buys the same color style t-shirt, both shirts are going to have Truth Unfiltered on their shirt. That's awesome. But they're going to have something, each one of them will be sleeved, or there will be a verse on every shirt is what I would like to have. And not written out like this. Anne Marie buys the same shirt as Trish, but Anne Marie's shirt might have Revelation 4:11, and Trish's might have Ephesians 6:1. Point is, you don't get to choose which verse goes on your shirt, because it comes with a tag phrase that says, "What does your truth say?" The goal is to create relationships that start with Scripture, and not, "Hey, how you doing? Where you from? Where you work? Nice to meet you." But, "Ooh, what's your truth say?" And if your shirt says, "What's your truth say?" with a random verse number, you will have had to open this book at some point to know what that verse says. And so essentially, take Miss Trish and Miss Anne Marie, when they see each other, they have the same shirt on, they can ask each other, "What does their truth say?" so that they can relay that back and forth with one another. And now you've started your initial meet and greet with somebody through this clothing wear, starting with Scripture. The issue that I'm having isn't finding people to print clothes on demand and this and that. It's that I want, no matter how many 100 t-shirts you buy, you're not going to get to choose what goes on each one. It's random. It'll be randomly selected. And that way, no one is falling into the traps of idolatry with things like John 3:16. "Oh, I got that's my favorite verse." Instead, it's just random. And you may not even like the verse you get, so you buy another one and hope that you get one that you do like. And so all I'm saying is that it becomes a way to not just promote my channel and me, but it's a way to get people to see it and go, "Oh wow, I like that. That's I never knew it said that." You'll read verses that you've never seen before, perhaps, and to people that have never even heard about it. It's a way to allow people to start there and build relationships with Scripture before anything else. And so that's why it's taken me a while to really launch this merch out there. I know I may have to eventually at some point, just do like a basic line or something, but essentially, "What does your truth say?" or "What's your truth say?" is the phrase that'll go along with something like that. Yeah, exactly. Like instead of having all of that Doctor Who, it'll just simply say Daniel 12:10. You would have to have looked that up to know that it says many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. None of the wicked will understand, but those who are will rise and understand. So you will get to read that to somebody or repeat it if you memorized it. They also might not even ask you and just look it up to see what it says. The point is, any clothing that you see, the only time you ever see clothed with verses on there and it doesn't have the words are like John 3:16. You'll see like a shirt that says John 3:16, but it doesn't say anything else. But you won't see a shirt that says Acts 1:1 or a shirt that says Kings, I don't know, Kings 13:4. To read that, or Kings 13:4 through 7. And so you wouldn't know what it says until you actually read it. That's the goal, essentially. But definitely, I'll give you a call, Miss Trish, and we'll kick around some ideas on that. But that's essentially how I want this to work. Now, I know I just kind of spilled some beans there on that business model. It's a model that could be reproduced. I don't care if other people want to copy that and steal that idea, as long as they're using scripture with it, I guess. The point is, I think that would be a good idea, and that's the kind of merch I would like to present to you guys, for you guys to be able to sell. So that it's not totally about my channel or just about me. The same as none of this is about me. It's about the word, the truth, the way, and the life. That's what we're trying to get, is life, eternal life with our Lord Jesus Christ in the new world. That being said, you guys are amazing and awesome. I'm glad you guys were here. For the ones that are here in the end, they were here with me this whole time. The guys and gals that came in later. Hope you guys enjoyed what you have witnessed tonight, and enjoyed my little rant on the way I view this little season and how serious I really believe it is. Like I said, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings with me calling it a fact, and if that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry. But I'm not going to stop. That's all I'm saying to that. You guys have been awesome and amazing. This has been a blessing having you guys here with me. And man, I look forward to Thursday. I will see you guys Thursday, next time.